Hello the internet and welcome back to my channel. On the bench today I have 4 old computers. I got them for free basically from a local seller. They were being thrown away and they are in horrendous shape. There's nothing really special, I think. This is a Dell. It says Dimension 2400. It says Intel Celeron here, Windows XP. So nothing special. 2 anonymous machine. And I think this case qualifies as the ugliest case I've ever seen in my life. It's really horrible.
These things are ugly.
Then we have a special guest. It's an IBM Think Center. It says Intel Celeron Windows XP as well, so really nothing special. Unfortunately, it's all broken, but I think I might have all the parts and I might be able to put it back together. Do I want to? Do I care about these things? Probably there is nothing special inside these machines, but honestly, I don't know. I would say we can take a look together. I can reuse the parts, the CD-ROM, the floppy drives, the RAM, the power supplies, you know, that kind of stuff. Let me quickly mention PCBWay, the sponsor of this video, and now enough me talking, let's take a look at these machines together and see what we can find inside. Alright, I would say let's begin with the ugly one, this monster here, absolutely monstrous. I can see the power supply is missing. Let me open the side panel here, see what's inside. There is a fan connected to the plate here. Not much inside this case. There's quite a few cables here, which is always welcome. I haven't got many, especially this one. It's an 80 wires conductor for fast IDE. It's horrendously dusty. I don't want to know where this has been. There is a Winfast motherboard. I have no idea what socket, what that is, but it's a Winfast. We've got 2 RAM modules. There's a video card, so we'll take a look at that in a sec. And I can see what look like 2 Ethernet cards in there. A couple of fans, 120 millimeters, CD burner here, and the floppy. So the case is lacking the power supply. The case is ugly anyways, I don't want this. So I'm gonna use these parts, of course. I would say let's take everything out of the case and then we can take a look at what we've got out of here. The video card inside the machine is an ATI Sapphire, if I'm saying that right. And here at the back, it only says R7000. So I think it's very basic card, but you know, it can be useful. I haven't got many video cards. This should be 3D capable, and I really haven't got many 3D capable video cards. So why not? As I noticed, there are 2 LAN cards. They are both RJ45. One is a Davicom, one is a Belking, but it's only a label on a chipset, so chances are it's a Realtek. You know, can be useful. I have already one of these. That's it. They just go into my stash. Motherboard is on the bench. It's a Winfast 748K7AA, and according to the RetroWeb, it's a socket A motherboard, which is great. I haven't got any socket A processor, so that should be an AMD, one of the AMD ones. I used to have an Athlon at some point when AMD got better than Intel for some time. So let's take a look at what's underneath the heatsink. Oh. Yay! There's an AMD, look at that. And yes, we got an AMD Sempron. This is 2400 megahertz. However, it comes with a little surprise. This thing has run pretty hot. I'm curious to see whether it's still working, and I think I might know why it's damaged like that. Well, this is the heatsink, and as you can see, I don't know, I mean, there used to be a little pad in here, and I don't think the die of the processor was actually centered. I don't know whether this was installed the other way around or something went wrong during the assembly. I have no idea, but it doesn't look great. The rest of the board looks okay. I don't see swollen capacitors. There's quite a lot of dust, so let me get rid of the dust and then we can give it a go real quick just to make sure whether it posts. Oh, and we have 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. One it's a Kingston module, the KVR 1 gigabyte, and one it's Elixir 512 megabyte of DDR 400 megahertz. Alright, the motherboard with the video card, the CPU and the RAM is assembled. Let's see if it works. I'm curious, most importantly, I'm curious to see whether that CPU is still alive or not. Maybe that's the reason why the computer was put aside at some point. 3, 2, 1, go. Feels dead. There's no beeps. The fan is spinning. There's no beeps. There's no video output. Dead. Okay. Got my postcard on the motherboard to see whether there's any activity at all. Try again. 3, 2, 1, go. Nope, there's no activity whatsoever. It looks completely dead. Now, it could be some dirt that got into the processor socket, but you'd expect something out of this. Anyways, a little code, one code, just a little something. But at the moment, there is absolutely nothing. Now, I know that some of these motherboards don't like not having a fully working battery for the BIOS, so let me replace it and see if by any chance it does the trick. Try again in 3, 2, 1, go. Nope. Well, there is no RAM, but it's not beeping, it's not doing absolutely anything. Completely dead. Now, I kind of remember back in the days that the Athlons, at least the earlier AMDs, were a bit fussy with power supplies. This is the one I'm using all the time. It's just because it's very small. Probably not a good idea because it's open. But, let me try a more traditional ATX power supply. This is 750 watts. So if something goes wrong, it will just make a bigger bang. Okay, let's give this a go. In 3, 2, 1, go. No, it is completely dead. So I'm assuming I haven't got another board or another CPU to try. Unfortunately, I'm assuming I guess the CPU is gone, considering it looks burnt. As a further test, I reprogrammed the BIOS IC using my programmer. The RetroWeb has only one version of BIOS for this board, and it looks very different than the one I have. So after saving a backup, I flashed the new version, but that did not help. Also, given that the board belongs to the capacitor plague era, I tried warming up the capacitors while resetting the board. Even a tired capacitor can be temporarily revived with heat, but that did not make any difference. So I think I understand what happened here. The heatsink was installed the wrong way round. This is how I found it installed, but I believe that this is supposed to be installed this way, because you got this little notch here on the right, which corresponds to the plastic socket. So I'm not sure whether it was just the thermal paste, which was not covering the die entirely, or even worse, maybe the heatsink this way is sitting at an angle. So the CPU clearly just baked to death. Fantastic. Right, that's it with the first machine. So we got a motherboard which hopefully works, a broken CPU, we got this video card which we can test later on if I get something that actually works. I've got these BTC52X it's that burner, there should be a burner, and also I've got an Alps floppy drive. On top of that, I've got this little Cooler Master fan speed controller. It could be useful for something. It's basically got inputs and outputs, so I might be using it for something else if I need it. And finally, some wires and screws and fans, and these two RJ45 network cards, which are, I don't really need them, but they're here. So I would say, let me clear up this mess and we'll move to the next system. Right, let's continue with the next system. This is the other anonymous system. It doesn't have a brand or anything or stickers. Let's see what's inside. Screws. There is something in common between these systems. They are filthy, absolutely disgusting. I don't know where they are coming from. So let me see and try and decipher the name of the motherboard so we can understand what kind of system this is. This also has a power supply. pretty cheap, I'd like to say. But yeah, let's see what that motherboard supports. And this is a Gigabyte GA7VM400M. It's another socket A, so if this works, maybe I can try the other motherboards as well. It's via KM400, and yeah, it looks nice. Let's see what's under the heatsink, but first, because I'd like to test this thing, I'd like actually to try and power the power supply and see if it blows up on me or anything. Let me just remove the dust from this thing, because it's absolutely disgusting. All right, we got an AMD Athlon XP 1.8 MHz. This is the 2200 model. Can someone tell me what that horrible thing is? Was that applied at the factory? It doesn't come off. I still have some residues on the die, and it's horrendous. It looks like it was some pre-applied paste maybe by someone. It looks horrible. Anyway, I'll try and clean it a bit better, and then we can test this thing and see if it actually works. I'd be impressed. Okay, it's come up pretty nice, and this is not toasted at the back, so I'm optimistic. Let's put some thermal paste, let's power it up and see if it works. Okay, I've got the motherboard put together with the video card from the other motherboard so we can test it. There was no video card in this system, unfortunately. So let me, I'm using my power supply, at least I know it works, and then maybe we can try the other one and just confirm that also that works. In 3, 2, 1, go. Oh gosh, it's just not working either. Okay. Well, there's no sign of life. Maybe that was the reason why these computers were given for free. Okay, we do have sign of life on the postcard. It actually looks like it's going on. I haven't got a speaker connected. Let me plug a small speaker. Maybe the motherboard is beeping something. The board is definitely posting from the beep, but there's no output. So let me try with a known good video card. You know, let's not do like my previous video. I got all stuff which I don't know if it works or not. No, so the problem is not the video card. There is one beep, but then it stops. At least there is sign of life. I have a feeling it might be something like the battery, or maybe the BIOS needs to be reset, or something I'm missing, I don't know. But at least we got something out of it, which is good. The battery here is also completely depleted, so let me replace it. Let me get the fresh one I put on the other board and see if by any chance that works. New battery, and also BIOS is reset. Let's try again. I didn't notice there is a VGA connector at the back of the board, so I'm wondering whether the reason why there wasn't a VGA card, well, video card with the system is that there is an integrated video card in the chipset. It's a VIA. So let me power it off and plug the VGA cable straight into the output at the back. I have a feeling that's going to work. Aha! Yes, it's working. Athlon XP 2200, and we have, what's that, 255 megabytes of RAM? Perfect. Okay, well, this is working. That's great. So we have a CPU. We can give the other motherboard a quick test, I guess. And I suppose to use a discrete video card on this board, you have to go into the BIOS and just enable the relevant option. That's it. It's not the end of the world. But that works. Well, at least we got something out of this patch. I had a bad feeling. I thought they're all going to be completely dead, completely baked. But no, so far we got like 50%. Now, the only thing I'm seeing is that these are two modules of 255 megabytes each. So I should see 512, not 256. So I'm assuming, hopefully it's just a matter of reseating them. Let's do that real quick. Yes, 512. Well, 491 plus the shared memory for the video card. Great. So this is working totally fine. Well, at least it's posting. It's not really working totally fine, but it seems to be working. I don't see why it shouldn't. Real quick, let's move that CPU onto the other board and see if that board works. Alright, the Athlon is on the Winfast board. Winfast is just... Who did come up with that name? Alright, the Athlon is on the Winfast board with my good known S3 video card, so at least I know that works. Let's power up and see if that works. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh yes, it's working! Look at that! It's posting! Winfast! We are the best! What a silly name. Oh, it doesn't show me the BIOS? Oof. And this is with the BIOS from the Retro Web, which was completely different from the one I had. So at some point, I guess we can also, I can also try and find out which one is newer, but I will definitely upload the other one on the Retro Web, so it's there for any reference. And we do have the Athlon at 1800 megahertz, 1.5 gigabyte of RAM, which is correct. Yes, so it's working, and well, clearly this IC is toasted. Well, you don't need to be a scientist to realize that. Let's test the video card. Cool, the video card is also working. It shouldn't be the greatest video card, but it's a 3D one. So again, I definitely haven't got a 3D PCI video card. So that's a good addendum to my little collection of retro stuff in here. Great. So we got 2 motherboards, video card, lots of bits and bobs, and 1 Athlon CPU. And of course, we got the usual collection of floppy drive, CD-ROM drive, IDE cables, which are always useful. Let's take a quick look at the power supply. I have used my air compressor already to try and clean the dirt from inside it. The first thing I noticed is that the fan is completely stuck. It's pretty gunky and I'm not sure it can be revived. But most importantly, well, this is a very cheap power supply, you can see that. It's supposed to be a 350 watts power supply from Q-Tech. And unfortunately, I do see some swollen capacitors in here, these 2 capacitors here, so I don't think I want to waste any time on this thing. It's cheap, it's broken, we can turn it on just for fun, but to me this is going to be for parts, or I'm going to dispose of it. I don't have a use of it. Let's give power to the power supply, and then let's turn it on. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, it's completely dead. It's kind of weird because I have no current flowing through the isolation transformer at all. It's dead. We definitely have mains coming in, so there is definitely something very wrong with this power supply. I'm not going to waste any time on it. Again, it's completely dead. Probably the fan stopped. It overheated until it just baked itself. That's why the capacitors have swollen. This is totally not worth a second. So the power supply is gone. Oh, by the way, the fuse is working and I can measure mains at the main bridge rectifier. So we do have voltage going in, it's just that nothing happens. Yes, I do realize I've just said I don't want to invest a second on this thing, but I'm investing a few seconds. I just literally wanted to have a quick look and see what's going on. I've noticed here on the right hand side is the main switching controller, which is weird because it looks like it's on the secondary and that's usually on the primary. But anyways, I found the data sheet and on pin 12 I'm supposed to get the supply voltage for the IC itself so it can drive the whole power supply. And when I'm feeding mains to the power supply, I'm reading 7.2 volts, which apparently should be okay for that IC to work. And the other thing is I've realized that the power supply is actually making some noise when it's being energized. So yeah, obviously there is something wrong and I don't know what it is. I just wanted to poke a little bit and I promise I'm not investing any more time into this thing. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know what you're doing with power supplies, just don't work with them. There are lethal voltages inside this thing, so stay away from them unless you really know what you're doing. And before we move to the next system, let me quickly mention my sponsor, PCBWay. Whether you need a PCB manufactured for your own project or you found something online and you would need the PCB manufactured, then PCBWay is definitely your stop. All you need is a Gerber file, which can be easily uploaded on PCBWay.com. The process is more or less automatic, and the PCBs will be delivered at your place. If you follow this channel, you know I've been using PCBWay for some of my projects, like my XT80 or my ring tester here, and I can definitely vouch on the quality of the PCBs that I've received from PCBWay. And don't forget PCBWay's other services if you need something 3D printed, or if you need a PCB fully populated with components, then PCB can also help you. Take a look at PCBWay.com, the link is also down below in the description. Let me thank PCBWay, their help makes these videos possible. But now, let's continue and move on to the next system. Next on the line, it's the Dell computer. Let's take a look what's inside. Now, being a Dell computer, the manufacturing assembly is so much better than the other ones. I can see it's an Intel motherboard with the VGA output at the back. So I'm assuming an Intel processor with some integrated graphic on it. We got a USB card, we got an Ethernet card, floppy, and another CD drive. Oh gosh, I'll show you something in a sec. This is really dirty, so as before, I'll just give it a go, but I think I'm not gonna remove this from this computer. I'll keep everything inside and we can test it with its own power supply. Yes, you're seeing that right. That is the floppy slot. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Oh my gosh. What is this thing? Oh gosh. It's absolutely, totally, completely disgusting. So let me vacuum this thing like to death, and then we'll move from there. Ah! Okay, well, that wasn't intentional. That wasn't intentional. I need to warm this up a bit. There it is. Okay, not bad. And as expected, it's a Celeron 2.6 GHz. Nothing special for this machine. It's a Dell machine, it's an office machine. Well, I guess this is ready to go. I haven't reinstalled the dirty shroud here. It's just a quick test to make sure it works. I suspect this is going to be totally fine. These are office machines that were designed to be mistreated, and hopefully everything still works. I would say let's just power it up and see what happens. Okay, well, it's pop. Oh yeah, it's on already. Perfect. Yeah. Well, obviously there's no hard drive, so it's not going anywhere, and error messages. Yeah, but it is working. How much RAM do we see? We can check and make sure that all the RAM is being recognized, and then that's it. It's a boring system. It's a Celeron. It's an office one. What can I do with this? I'm not going to dismantle this. This belongs to this case. Actually, it's a pretty good case. The other two cases are horrendous quality. It's just horrendous quality. I don't know. I might find someone who wants this just to do something, I guess, with the Celeron. And that's it. But yeah, let's take a look at the RAM installed on this thing, and we can make sure that the BIOS actually sees all the amount of RAM. This system has 1.5 GB of good quality, so let's clean it and double check in the BIOS that it's actually being seen. I'm inside the BIOS of the Dell. Let's have a look where it says memory information. 1.5 GB of RAM. So yeah, all is working. This is working totally fine. And yeah, it's a bit of a boring system, but it works. Well, I think I've invested enough time on this computer. Just one thing I'd like to do before moving to the next one is to test that floppy, which I cleaned, and maybe also the CD-ROM, just to make sure it works. So I got a bootable floppy here. Let's power up with the floppy in. Well, the floppy drive works. I think it struggled a bit the first time I tried, but now it works. Let's test the CD-ROM and then we'll move to the next system. Well, it looks like the CD-ROM drive needs a head clean. At least I hope that that's all it takes. I would say, let's give it a go and see if I can revive this one as well. Take 2 for the CD-ROM, let's hope it works now. Move. Aha, it's working. It's just it doesn't work on its side. I thought it would, but obviously doesn't. Pretty happy it's taking off and it works. So I would say this Dell computer is done. Let's move to the next system, the IBM. And here we are with the last system, which is an IBM. It's very heavy, as the Dell is. The other 2 computers were really very cheap quality cases. This should probably be another office computer. It says Intel Celeron somewhere, so nothing really too fancy, but somehow I'm kind of attached to the IBM brand, so I'm curious to take a look. When I first inspected this case for the first time, I thought something happened here where the drives are installed, the floppy and the CD-ROM, but no, this is actually intentional. They are installed at an angle. It's just for an aesthetic perspective. It's pretty interesting. This case is also very dirty, and also I see something in there. I'm not sure if it's some construction residue. Well, whatever that is, it's disgusting. So I'd remove everything, I'll blow the dust off, and we'll move from there. Right, it is so much better now. I've got also the desk a little bit cleaner, even though I'm looking forward to the end of this project so I can tidy up and clean this mess. As before, let's take a look at the processor and then we'll power up using the IBM power supply here. I can see 2 drive units here, and one, it's a DVD-ROM, which is great. It's a parallel IDE unit. I haven't got many of those, so that would be great. Unless I want to try and keep this together. I'm not sure. It's pretty damaged. I don't know what I want to do with these systems. Again, they came for £5. I just got them, and what am I going to do with them? I really don't know. But for the time being, let's remove the heatsink here and see what's underneath. I'm trying not to remove the whole CPU as I did before, but I have a feeling it might be unavoidable as the heatsink seems to be stuck to the CPU itself. That worked. Oh wow. Oh yeah. That really worked. I didn't know that. And as expected, this is a Celeron 2.4 GHz. One thing I'm impressed with is the thermal paste. Once warmed up, it was still liquid, fluid, so probably there was really no need to replace it. I guess that's when IBM was still a good brand and was actually making good machines. One thing I'm impressed not to see in these machines, all the machines we've looked so far, Swollen capacitors. These machines come, I believe, more or less from year 2000, where the capacitor plague was happening. These power supplies dated 2003, but all the capacitors look fine. Whether they're working fine, I don't know, but I don't see any damage. And usually from those years, I think it's beginning of year 2000, if I'm not mistaken, all the capacitor industry just collapsed for whatever reason. But no, they all seem okay, and it's also pretty nice to say a motherboard with an IBM logo like that. You can't buy them anymore. Well, given the type of the machine, an IBM Office computer, I'm kind of surprised to see a Value Select Corsair RAM in it. But anyway, it's a good brand. And looking at the code, it says VS1G. I'm assuming this is a 1 gigabyte each. So it's going to be, could be 2 gigabytes in total. So we'll check in a second. Okay, well, the IBM is plugged into my power supply. Obviously, this computer doesn't have a discrete graphic. It's coming from the processor. And I forgot to mention these two cards. One is a network card and one is a modem card. Both are PCI. Right, I think it's time to power this up. Let's see if the IBM works. Power up in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, it started by itself. Do we have a video output? Yellow screen. IBM. Okay, yeah. Let's plug a floppy inside. I haven't cleaned the floppy drive, but it might work. The floppy seeked. Well, the IBM only started once, at least it tried, and then I went into the BIOS, I just saved what I was shown, and I don't know, it doesn't seem to be going past the splash screen. I've noticed that the CD-ROMs are disconnected. I'm not sure whether they might be in the BIOS. I'm just trying to replug them in. Failing that, I might try and plug a hard drive and see if by any chance it's happier that way. Well, no, it's not going past this screen anymore. I'm not sure what happened. I've noticed there is a clear CMOS button. Oh, wait, no. It's just very slow for whatever reason. Well, clearly, I guess the battery must be depleted. So obviously that's not going to work. Let's try and continue and see if it tries and boot from the floppy. Yeah. Well, okay, it's working. Perfect, we have another working system. Now, what do I do with this? I have no idea. Especially, it's too bad this is broken, because this is a nice looking case. I really like the way it looks, but it's pretty broken. I might have some of the parts, not sure I have all of them. But yes, the system seems to be working, and we have 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is what we have here on the motherboard. Great, I would say, you know, there's really not much point in going and testing whatever. That was in not too bad of a shape. Just out of curiosity, let me see what parts I have for the system, what I don't have. And then I would say we'll do a little recap and see what we got out of this session of deep diving into garbage, more or less. Right, here's the situation. I guess that whoever tried to remove the hard drive just pulled the front panel and they just broke it. But I have the broken part here. And not only do I have the broken part, but I also have the blank here. And I also have the cover for the floppy, which is pretty nice with the purple button here. So I should be able to put it back together. Give me a few minutes and I'll see if I can glue it in a way that, you know, it's kind of nice to see. To glue the frame together, I used some Loctite 406, which is designed for plastics. I used my silicone mat as a base, hoping that the glue would not stick to it. But I was very mistaken, I'll show you later why. Now, while I cannot condone breaking the front panel of an IBM machine in an attempt to get access to the hard drive, I guess, I have to say that when I went to remove the top part of the front panel, which was still attached to the chassis, I couldn't figure out how to pull it out without breaking it, of course. I had a look online, I couldn't find anything. Surely I looked in the wrong place, but I had a quick look and I couldn't find anything. And by inspecting with a torch, I found that the top panel is has basically some clips into these slots here, but there's no access from the top, there's no access from the sides, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. It was not obvious. There's no instructions, no arrows or anything, or buttons or anything that say, push this button and the front panel will come off. No screws, nothing accessible at all. And it took me a while to realize that there is, obviously, an easy way to remove the front panel to release those latches there. It's a little hidden there and there's no instructions or any indication that it's in there. I'll try and show you. Again, it's just hidden there under the top lid. And I thought that the secret was with this black thing in here, because all I did is to stuck my hand in there, just push it that way. The thing is moving and it's pushing against the clips and it's releasing the clips themselves so the front panel gets loose. But while I was recording this, I realized something even better. This! There is a convenient button on the back of the unit, and that is actually activating this contraption, and that will release the front panel. So it was just a matter of pushing this button that will immediately release the top part of the front panel, and the front panel will come off effortlessly. Ooh. Thing good, Nick. And the reason why the owner of this computer ended up destroying the front panel is that the caddy of the hard drive actually fits from the front. It is pretty clever and it's pretty ingenious, but obviously the owner didn't know about the button, the magic button at the back, and obviously they wanted to remove the hard drive. And that happened, but it's great that we still have the caddy here, so someone could actually reinstall the hard drive and make this fully functional. Expansion cards are screwless on the system, and cards are kept in place by this plastic bracket. When the side panel is replaced, it applies pressure on the bracket itself, which in turn prevents the cards from coming off the slots. Very ingenious. The front panel glued together well, but it also glued well to my silicon mat. I ended up having to forcibly separate the two and with some grey silicon bits attach the plastic frame. Not the end of the world, if not now my mat is ruined. I polished the frame as much as I could and I applied some matte black paint where the glue was applied in order to make it look nice. When I went to fit the panel though, I realized that one of the plastic clips had been bent. I used some hot air to gently bend it back in place. Once the front panel was back in place, I realized it would not rest flat with the metal frame. I'll fix that in a moment though. Since the IDM is actually complete with all its parts, I decided to fit a hard drive and also the ATI video card and install Windows XP. Why not? The battery is depleted as expected and a new one goes in. The side panel did not fit well and I realized that some metal parts were bent. The main chassis in particular had a kink on the side, and that was what was preventing the front panel from fitting perfectly. You can see that when I fixed that, the whole front panel straightens up. Poor IBM, it was really mistreated. Once the ATI video card was fitted, I could not get a picture out of it. My solution was to get into safe mode and disable the integrated video card from Device Manager. After a restart, I finally had picture out of the ATI and I could install the video drivers. Mark gives a score of only 2346. My GeForce 2 MX400 scored 4276, so the R7000 seems to be comparable to a GeForce One card. Finally, the DVD-ROM, which is branded Lighton but clearly manufactured by Sony, is given a clean and I could install Need for Speed. I am pretty impressed with the outcome of this dumpster dive. We got quite a few components. These two motherboards are pretty nice, and these are the only socket 462 ones I have in my collection. The closest AMD processor I have in my collection is the K62 for socket 7. So it's nice to have these, and also it's nice to have an Athlon, a working Athlon. Too bad that the Sempron was baked to death because of that clumsy installation, probably from day one, I guess. So anyways, we got some cables which are always useful, some optical drives, floppy, heatsink, some extra boards and fans, and these two complete systems. Now, these are nothing really special, especially the Dell, but I guess they can be nice candidates for retro machines if you're not interested in going to back in time with like Pentium 486. I'm somehow attached to the IBM brand, so it's nice to have this machine fully working, and that's why I fitted the ATI 7000 in it. This is absolutely not a gaming machine, I just wanted to test it a bit, and even the card is quite nice. It's nothing special. I think it's equivalent to a GeForce One. It's nice to have, and most importantly, is the only PCI 3D card I've got. All the others are AGP, so it's nice, you know, for testing purposes and that kind of stuff. The Dell, to be honest, I think I'll find an owner if they want it to make their own retro machine. They're more than welcome to collect it. Everything else, it's a very nice addendum to my little collection. I thoroughly enjoyed this process. I didn't enjoy too much the amount of dirt and grime that was inside this computer, as I could see my desk getting completely covered in soot and grime. I don't want to know what that is. But anyways, besides that, it's nice to see what we got in the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. As usual, if you did, I'd appreciate a thumb up down below, and also consider subscribing to this channel if you like this kind of things. For now, I wish you a great day. I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again here soon on my channel for my next videos. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Bye-bye.